guess we'll start with the current controversy. You go to the Knoxville blind audition, and you're a hell of a clarinet player, and you're behind the curtain. They can't see that it's you, and you are the best, right? That like they told you it's yours. Like before they actually had like revoked it or done any investigation on you, they were like, you were the winner. You're the best.
That's right. So the blind audition was a 2-day long process that started on a Monday morning. They listened to people one after another all day long, and they keep whittling it down like a sports tryout. And after the first day, they asked me to come back the second day. I passed another round the morning of Tuesday, the 16th of September. They put me into the finals that afternoon. And after the final round, they declared me the winner. Came to my dressing room and said, "We'd love to have you on the payroll in 2 weeks. We'll call you tomorrow." And I guess instead of calling me the next day, they dug into my sordid history and found enough reasons not to hire me. And Rachel Ford, their CEO, called me and said, "Thanks, but no thanks. And we're not going to talk to you about any of this. So good luck to you."
And it was clearly based on your experience with the Nashville Symphony back in 2019.
That's right. That's what the email says. It says a number of items have come to our attention regarding your employment in the Nashville Symphony, which there are some stinkers in there, but there's a lot of advocacy that I did on behalf of my Black colleagues and for the process of blind auditions. So like you said, it's complicated, but people love to zero in on your worst moments in times like this.
Mm-hmm. But what the 2019 incident at the Nashville Symphony seems to boil down to is, you tell me if I've got it right, you stood up for a Black oboe player who was potentially about to get the shaft. You stood up for him. Then the person running that symphony kind of overcompensated and started bending over backwards for this Black oboe player. You started getting the short end of this relationship. And ultimately, you and he, when you clashed, they took his side. They didn't recognize any of his bad behavior toward you. But when you finally started to like get back in his face, they shamed you for being the problem and you got booted. Is that basically it?
That is exactly accurate, Megan. What happened was there was a botched blind audition for a Black oboist who had been playing on a temporary basis in the orchestra. Sometimes when an orchestra needs to fill a gap and doesn't have time to host a national blind audition, they will just appoint someone on a temporary basis. So this oboist was hired without an audition based on his qualifications. He was a pretty good player, but not necessarily up to the standards of everyone else. But I took him under my wing, became his friend. I coached him for free leading up to the national blind audition that he had to win to become our permanent principal oboist. And I said to him what none of his friends had ever dared to say, which is, look, man, it's not so much this racism you're talking about all around you. It's the fact that you're paranoid and you are not taking accountability for your shortcomings. But I believe in you, and I believe you can win this thing. And I'm gunning for you. I got your back. And the best possible outcome here is that you win, and we have the first principal oboist of color in the United States in a major orchestra. And that's what was about to happen in his blind audition. He was the last man standing after days of difficult competition. But accidentally, we found out it was him during deliberations. And our conductor and the rest of my colleagues who were on this blind audition panel said, "Oh, I don't want to play with this guy. What do we do?" And the conductor says, "All right, we're going to declare this a no-win situation. We're going to send him home, and we're never going to speak of this again." And I said, "Over my dead career, can you do that?" So I took a stand against the conductor and all of my colleagues and said, we are going to march back into the conductor's office and tell him how despicable that decision was. And we're going to give this Black oboist a chance to prove himself. And we did that. He crumbled. The orchestra management hired him unilaterally with no vote of his colleagues, so he can now never say that he was hired based on our qualifications, our vote. He was stamped a DEI hire forever, and when I protested, he made up a Jussie Smollett-like narrative about me that I was a stalker and a racist and a nasty person and a white supremacist, and
but let me stop you there. What did you want to have happen? Because I'm with you on the story, you're advocating for him. Then they tried to stop him from getting the job, even though it was a blind audition, because they found out it was him. And you were like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
That's not okay. But then what did they do? They gave him something more than you wanted them to give him? What was it that upset you on the permanent hire?
Well, then they gave him another probationary year so he could prove himself and prove that he was going to get tenure. That's maybe a piece of the detail that you were missing. After a player wins a blind audition, they're typically given a 1-year probationary contract where the player is evaluated on whether or not they're a good fit. Because a blind audition doesn't tell you everything about somebody. It doesn't tell you what their personality is, what kind of a colleague they are, if they show up on time, if they're a good listener, if they take correction easily. This black oboe player was very bad at all of those things. So what do? We either hire the guy or we kick him to the curb and he sues the orchestra for racial discrimination for trying to fire him illegally. A suit that in 2019, he absolutely would have won. We all would have gotten crushed.
Yep.
So the management of the orchestra says, well, we can just fire this one player and pin the whole thing on him. And that's what they did to me. And I knew they were going to do it. My only recourse was public opinion. And I thought if I played the long game.
Wait, let me stop you again because I got confused again.
No problem.
So they're at the point where they have to decide whether they're going to give him the permanent offer after the 1 year of probation. And what did they want to do and what did you want to do?
Well, they wanted to hire him no matter what because they wanted to avoid litigation.
So they didn't really want him. They just wanted to avoid litigation.
Correct. They will never admit this,
and what were
but
you
we
saying?
all know this.
Yeah.
And I'm the only person saying it out loud. And everyone's trying to say he's doing a great job. He's a great player. And I'm thinking that's an insult to our audience. Everybody can hear that this guy's all over the place and everybody is tired of the struggle sessions that he's putting us through, all of his extra social media that he does declaring that orchestras are racist. Nobody wants to hear that. We just want to come to work. We want to play with the best players and leave. It's a simple job. It's a fun job. And his presence and his advocacy sucked all the fun out of it for everybody. This is not a job you're going to get rich doing.
And can you just explain too, because I didn't know this, James, but apparently principal oboist is a rather important role in an orchestra.
It's the most important role in an orchestra. When you go to an orchestra and it gets quiet when the lights go down and we all tune up to that one note, that's the oboist giving that note. The oboist gives all the best solos, all the most beautiful solos in the repertoire by Brahms and Beethoven and Debussy are all given to the first oboe. It's an amazing instrument, and it can have more artistic influence on the sound of the group than any other instrument. So this was not some job where the guy could be covered for by everybody else around him. He was setting the tone quite literally for what we were doing.
So you fought to get this guy a fair audition and a fair chance at the orchestra, but having worked with him as a fellow musician for a year, it was clear to you he didn't deserve the job, he wasn't up to snuff, and that the only reason the orchestra was not about to acknowledge that publicly and let him go as they would have, in your view, a white man, was because of the color of his skin, which you also objected to. All of this sounds like principled behavior on your part. And when you raised that objection, they fired you?
That's right. I mean, I believed in him. I thought he was very talented, which he was. He has great natural ability. And let's not take away his achievement of winning a blind audition against a national pool of candidates from all over the place. This is a major position. Principal clarinet of the Nashville Symphony. This is Music City. And a position like that can lead to jobs in academia, in recording studios. This is no small potatoes. This is not a hobby. This is not something that people do outside of their regular job for fun. This is a career. The stakes were high. And I thought, this guy had enough talent, but he was just broken-brained. You know how some of these wokesters get. They can't think. They don't see reality for what it is. They start seeing racism in everything, every interaction. So I was thinking maybe we can disabuse him of these horrible notions of what's going on around him and convince him to just tone it down and do your playing. But he was not able to be convinced that the world was anything other than what he said it was. So I thought, well, we got to kick this guy to the curb. Nobody wants to work with this. Forget it. He had his chance.
So other players were complaining about that behavior?
Oh, yeah. In our meetings that were leading up to the decision about whether he should get tenure or not, he had no support whatsoever from any musician. The conductor didn't like him. Well, none of us liked him, but management liked him. The CEO liked him because he was his golden child, his DEI ticket to success. He's like, look, we're going to parade this guy around everywhere and show everybody how righteous we are. He's a human virtue signal, which, by the way, is quite racist to tokenize somebody and do this, parade them around for their skin color. And I objected to all of this.
Oh, no, the respectful thing to do to any musician, black, white, or other, is to treat them just the same way you would as if they were a member of the majority group. Like, that's the respectful thing. A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you decide to talk to someone from Birch Gold Group? They use an educational approach with a deep understanding of macroeconomics. There are forces pushing the dollar lower and gold higher, which is why they believe every American should own physical gold. So until January 30th. If you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, you just text MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you are still eligible for a rebate of up to $10,000. Consider making right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before January 30th. Text MK to the number 989898. Claim your eligibility today. Again, text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.